Impemba.
What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Lineup NFL DFS show here, week one of the NFL season on tap here. Howard, we just watched some Thursday night football action with the Lions upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs there in week one. I know a lot of people's fantasy shares probably a little worried if you had Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, maybe a little Jahmyr Gibbs, hesitations now after a 20% snap share. But Thursday night football showdown slate was a pretty wild one to watch.
It was definitely a wild one to watch. I was happily pleased with myself, I guess, for having David Montgomery as my in my captain's seat.
Yep.
I had both Jared Goff and Pat Mahomes in the lineup as well. Unfortunately, I did not have Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
And I did not have Josh Reynolds. Those were two nice little cheapies who turned out and played some decent ball there. But you know what? I mean, listen, this is the beauty of week one DFS. You know, this is where we start. This is where our education begins. This is where we start seeing what we, what happens with the teams, what they're looking at, what they're looking for. And I take this as a learning experience as opposed to an overreaction I use Jahmyr Gibbs in my captain's seat and he sucked.
Yeah, I'll also say this as we look over towards the main slate, we're going to have the benefit of both, DraftKings and FanDuel releasing their main slate about 2 months ago. So pricing for week one is going to be very, very different than we'll see likely for the rest of the season. We'll get into it, but the majority of the incoming rookie class outside of Bijan Robinson is pretty free. Yeah, you can get a lot of the rookie wide receivers in your lineups here for the main slate at near min cost on DraftKings and FanDuel. We'll be featuring the DraftKings slate, but obviously we're covering both DraftKings and FanDuel for our DFS playbook content, example lineups, watch list, the whole shebang there. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Line family, you see on the screen right here the QR code. You can scan that. You get access to all of the content we have on site. Comes with a 7-day free trial, and right now our annual package is 40% off the monthly price. So you're basically getting, what is that, like 5 months for free? You basically get the entire NFL season for free if you want to look at it that way, with the remaining months covering all the other sports that we got going on here at Fantasy Lineup. So go ahead, take advantage of our All-Pro package offer today. Howard, let's just jump into it. We got 13 games to talk about here on the DraftKings main slate. We'll kick it off position by position. We'll break it down here. We've seen a lot of Baltimore Ravens covers on our weekly content so far. For good reason here. They draw the Houston Texans in their week one matchup at home. We have the Todd Monken new offensive system being put in place here for the Baltimore Ravens. So a lot of people are excited for what could be getting away from that, slow grinding pace of Greg Roman here. That puts Lamar Jackson as your top priced quarterback on DraftKings. When we're looking at these top quarterbacks here, where does Jackson rank for you, and how much interest do you have in the rest of the field?
I mean, Jackson definitely ranks up there. I've got him on I believe I have him on the cover of the DFS watch list. I think that, Todd Monken's offense, or, his air raid offense is going to spread the defense out horizontally. And as Lamar is rolling out and, the scattered receivers and tight ends out there on the field, they're going to open up some nice running lanes for him as well. So, I've already talked about the fact that I like him on his rushing yards prop. I think it's like over, 50 some odd, and a half yards. And I'm in for that. So, I definitely like it. I will say this though, depending on the status of Mark Andrews, I might back off a little bit. It's not that I don't have faith in Lamar and his receivers, but it is week one. DeMeco Ryans probably has some good, interesting defensive looks to throw, Baltimore's way. He's a quality, quality defensive minded coach. He was great in San Francisco. And then it's just a matter of how is Lamar gelling with Odell Beckham, who's got an ankle issue all of a sudden. You've got Zay Flowers, who's a rookie. Rashad Bateman is disgruntled with what's going on over there. So, when you look at things like that, if he doesn't have his security blanket, we just saw it with Mahomes not having Travis Kelce. So if Lamar doesn't have his security blanket in Mark Andrews, then I'm actually going to be less bullish on him using him in my DFS lineups.
Sure. Fantasy Alarm, we have the draft percentage forecaster tool here. If you go take a look at that tool, we have only 4 quarterbacks right now projected to be in double-digit ownership percentages. 2 of them are along with Lamar Jackson, Hurts and Burrow. Burrow may be a little surprising because people are unsure about the calf. Hurts going into New England, that only has a 4.5 game total. I think is a little surprising for me because the Patriots Vegas win total in the year was set at like 6.5, with the under being the favorite. You have the Eagles coming off of a Super Bowl appearance here. Does the fact that maybe Bill Belichick has had all year basically to plan for a week 1 Jalen Hurts, the fact that they brought in Malik Cunningham, to have him basically run their second team offense for the majority of the preseason, have him on their practice squad. They brought in Jalen Reagor maybe to get an idea. Does Jalen Hurts, is that a fade for you potentially this week against New England?
I think any quarterback is a fade for me if they're facing Belichick. I really do. I mean, what Hurts and the Eagles did last year, absolutely fantastic. I am not, I'm not against, avoiding guys who are just going up against him. I mean, he's a great defensive mind, and we know that for, whatever. I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They could win this game outright. That's fine. I don't care. But to know that Belichick has been scheming against Jalen Hurts for this, this game for as long as he has, I'm going to avoid that. I definitely think that, paying up for Jackson, okay. Paying up for Hurts, not something I really want to do. This top tier, actually, I mean, it's kind of funny. I don't really, I don't want to go with Hurts. I still need to see what happens with Fields. I know they want to turn him into a bigger passer. Same with Joe Burrow with the calf. I don't necessarily know. I mean, these are guys who, if you want to just throw them into a GPP tournament lineup, okay, go ahead and, and see what they do. But, for me, it's like Jackson is probably that top tier that I'm looking at. And then from there, I'm looking down at Herbert and Trevor Lawrence as, these guys were my bread and butter in fantasy drafts throughout the offseason. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to turn against them here in the week 1 of DFS.
Yeah, won't argue with you at all. Those are definitely the next 2 guys for me. Love getting Herbert at home. You have Miami traveling across country. Again, Miami was planning to have Jalen Ramsey in their secondary this season. That was their offseason plan. Not going to be the case. So now you're covering Keenan Allen. Ramsey's not going to be in the slot on Keenan Allen in this game. They have Mike Williams. They drafted Quentin Johnson. They still have Josh Palmer. Still have Austin Eckler. And then you have the Kellen Moore offense, which people are excited about the prospects of them pushing the ball downfield more. So definitely in on Herbert here. And then, of course, Trevor Lawrence has been my baby. I've taken him everywhere as well. He's the cover of today's show. Getting Calvin Ridley back, get that in the season going up against the Colts. Definitely 2 of my favorites in the mid-tier. What if I told you that the top projected rostered quarterback as of right now, Howard, was Sam Howell? Would you have any interest in a $4,900 Sam Howell at home against the Arizona Cardinals?
I mean, for a GPP tournament, yeah, you might as well, take a shot if you want to get in, if you want to throw in your Justin Jeffersons, or you want to get in a Jamar Chase, you want to get in, I don't even know, a high-priced running back, whatever. Sure. Yeah, you can pay down to Sam Howell. I don't love it. Not to mention the fact that I'll tell you, knowing who Ron Rivera is, the type of guy he is, if he's got that lead, I don't see why he doesn't, just run the football in the second half, utilize, Brian Robinson, a significant amount in that time just to kind of kill the clock. So, I know that Howell doesn't need a lot to pay off his salary. And that's the whole point behind using a value play like that. But it's not my first look. It really isn't, because we don't know a lot about Sam Howell. And I get it. Everybody's like, oh, I'll just get the cheapest QB out there in the softest matchup. We've seen that stumble before.
We certainly have seen that stumble before. Last name I'm just going to throw out there because he was in my contrarian corner video that I put out. You can find that on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube as well. That's Russell Wilson. He's $5,900. He's at home. He's going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. We've all seen, the Chandler Jones saga across Twitter where like the team locked him out and then the team sent a crisis unit to his house. This isn't the first time that we've seen Chandler Jones in some distressing matter. He had the whole Foxborough police incident where he took a bad batch of K2, Howard, and was a little doped up and ended up in a night in jail there. So hopefully everything's good with Chandler Jones, but it doesn't seem like he may be available for this game. So taking one of the premier pass rushers away from the Raiders and a Raiders defense that's already supposed to be bad. Then you add in the fact Sean Payton's there, Joe Lombardi's there. We're expecting the Denver offense to look a lot better this year. You're getting Russell Wilson at $5,900. So for me, I do like this spot on Wilson, and it's a spot where, again, if you're just looking at our current draft percentage forecasts, not many people are going to Russell Wilson here. They may still be burned or feeling the burn from what we got last year.
Well, I think they're feeling the burn from what we got last year. You also have to take into consideration right now what's going on between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton at the moment, and that's Payton turning around and basically telling Russell Wilson, get your head in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know what the outside distractions are. I don't know if Russell Wilson wants to glam out and be a celebrity or something like that. I mean, I feel like that's more for in the forefront of his mind, and that does concern me a little bit because Peyton's not going to tolerate that. Neither's Joe Lombardi. And if Russell Wilson isn't completely focused, then what are we going to do? So I am a little bit nervous about that. I think that things will develop as the season goes on, but again, not my first choice here. Again, if I'm looking for, you never want to miss on your quarterback.
Right.
You never want to miss on your QB, and especially here in week one. So, to take a shot on a guy, yeah, you can do it in a GPP. I'm sure Anthony Richardson. I'm sure people are going to take shots on Anthony Richardson. I'm sure people are going to take, shots on Brock Purdy, on Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all of that. Absolutely. But if I'm talking about, making some money, playing some cash game lineups, and maybe, putting together a strong cash game lineup and using it in a GPP, I want to know that I can rely on these guys. I want to rely on Justin Herbert. I want to rely on Trevor Lawrence. I want somebody who's less risk.
Sure. And like I said, there's plenty of value on the slate where paying up for quarterback really won't be too big of an issue here if you're looking to go in that direction. Let's move on over to the running back position here where Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, and Bijan Robinson are your four running backs up over $8,000 here. CMC on the road against Pittsburgh feels tough, but it is Christian McCaffrey. You have Austin Eckler, who you've written also in the offseason. You're not as high on him for a season-long standpoint, but maybe for a one-off matchup against Miami. Nick Chubb against Cincinnati, and then Robinson making his debut against Carolina. Where do you find yourself looking when it comes to the top spend up as a running back here?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, McCaffrey's matchup against Pittsburgh is not an easy one by any means. Pittsburgh's defense actually is rock solid.
Mm-hmm.
Eckler's big value is in his receiving. Like that's what it is. And I'm looking at his prop is 4.5 receptions for this week, and I'm actually looking at the under because they're giving DK's giving it to me at plus 100 for the under 4.5 receptions. It's not a part of the offensive scheme that Kellen Moore really likes to do. I'll always happily go with Nick Chubb.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter who the matchup is against because you do have Deshaun Watson with some decent weapons in Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore and David Njoku. And so it's not like the Bengals are going to be able to really play the run, especially for the fact that they have two new safeties on that team right now. And so you can't pinch in and stuff the run there because you're going to be worried about what's happening in your secondary. So Nick Chubb is a guy who I'll definitely take a look at this week. As for Bijan Robinson, I mean, I just wrote my article for the New York Post, and it kind of pivoted off of what we saw from from Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and how they did that. And it would not surprise me in the least to see Tyler Algier get a little bit more work than what Bijan fantasy owners want to see, just to, keep fresh legs, to not put, so much immediate pressure on the rookie. And so, Carolina, decent team, middle of the road against the run. I kind of look to, I look at it as Chubb maybe at the 8,200, but I don't necessarily know if I want to spend up much more than that. Sure. I'll definitely look at, even though I don't like the offensive line in Tennessee, I'll definitely look at Derrick Henry though, especially week 1.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry is a good price tag. Historically, running against New Orleans has not been a successful venture for a lot of guys, but Derrick Henry is a contrarian play this week. I mean, who is good for at least one 99-yard run a year, right? So we could possibly have it here in week 1. When we're looking at some rostership, McCaffrey is the only guy in the top 4 with double-digit ownership percentage there. You do see Eckler a little bit below him, Nick Chubb at 5%. I'm sure you'll be all over that if these rostership percentages hold true. The chalk lives in the mid-tier this week, Howard. J.K. Dobbins against Houston. A lot of expected rostership going there. Believe it or not, Kenneth Walker is projected to be a fairly highly rostered running back this week, as is Javonte Williams of Denver at $5,700. So not many people looking to spend up at the running back position this week. It looks like a lot of many are living in the mid-tier.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I don't have anything against it. Although I'll say this, everybody just remembers that Houston was terrible against the run last year.
Yeah.
But this is a different offensive scheme for Baltimore. So, how much are we looking at J.K. Dobbins getting as far as the workload goes? I know John Harbaugh runs the show, but this is still Todd Monken's offense.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's definitely a concern of mine. Kenneth Walker just he just missed practice, or he put in only a limited practice.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's got a little bit of an injury. Would it surprise you to see Zach Charbonnet get a little extra work in light there? And we already were told, like, that's what I find funny. We've already been told that Javonte Williams is going to be eased in. Denver's already said that. So Samaje Perine's going to get some work. How much, are we ready to invest in Jamal Williams? I'm not really sure about that. I'll tell you the 2 running backs who I'm kind of eyeballing right now. Sure. Aaron Jones.
Okay.
Chicago's run defense is terrible. They did nothing to improve it over the during the offseason. They got burned last year. Then they traded away Roquan Smith. They got even worse, and they did nothing really to kind of fix their run defense. So, work up the middle, I think, is going to be nice for Aaron Jones. I think he's in a good spot. And then if you want to pay down and you want to talk about like that, Javonte Williams kind of range, then, why not take a look at Raheem Mostert? Sure. I know that Salvan Ahmed and Devin Achane are both going to be available for the game, and they both put in practice the other day, but Raheem Mostert is still going to probably be the lead in this backfield. And Mike McDaniel loves to run the football.
Yeah. So Mostert for sure. He was on my bargain plays video. Contrarian plays? He was one of the 2. He was in one of the 2 videos, contrarian or bargains. Forget which one, but 100% in on Raheem Mostert here again. A-Chain missed a lot of the offseason, but he's starting to get some work. Salvan Ahmed, great, but he's not a guy that should be playing over Raheem Mostert in any sense here. I want to go back to the Javonte Williams thing, because I agree with you. Early on, they did say he was going to be eased in, but then 2 days ago, Sean Payton goes out there and says Javonte Williams will have a big role in the offense this week. So coach speak, I don't know. I've obviously been high on Javonte Williams all offseason because I loved, the Joe Lombardi offense. You talked about it, right? Yeah. Alvin Kamara, ton of success. Austin Eckler, ton of success. They let Javonte Williams start a preseason, ready to go for training camp, played in preseason games. And now Sean Payton saying he's going to have a big role in week 1. Now, if that ends up being coach speak and everybody rosters him at $5,700 and he plays 20% of the snaps, then we're all going to be upset. But if he goes out there and plays 60% of the snaps and does what we think he's capable of doing against the Raiders, he could be the top GPP play. I'll tell you right now, though, the currently projected highest rostered running back by a good margin is Jamal Williams at home against Tennessee this week.
Okay. I mean, and that obviously makes sense. There's no Kamara. Kendra Miller is, Kendra Miller. Right. So they're going to end up, giving some volume there to Jamal Williams. And, I mean, I'm not going to say that this dude's going to score 14 touchdowns again this year, but I think it definitely makes sense to take a look at him against Tennessee. Tennessee's, though, it's something to look into is that they've always had a decent run defense. Their biggest hang up has been their secondary.
I mean, I would agree with you. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of liked Carr this week as well, because we, right. At least for this week, we have a healthy Michael Thomas. So, if you look at Carr, you have Olave and a healthy Michael Thomas right now. And Jamal Williams can't catch the ball a little bit, but he's almost 18% projected as of now. Again, these get updated as we hit into the weekend. So some of the numbers I'm quoting now may change, obviously, as we come Sunday. So if you don't already have the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro package, get it. You'll have access to our draft percentage forecaster there come Sunday for your roster making needs here. Any other value guys that you're looking at? You mentioned maybe Brian Robinson getting some second half work for Washington when they take that lead over Arizona. They're 6.5-point home favorites in that game. Anybody else for you that you might have some interest in?
Looking through, scrolling down. We'll check the health of Kenneth Walker moving forward, because if Walker is limited or anything like that, then Zach Charbonnet at 4,800 becomes a very intriguing option. But no, I don't really think that there's anybody out there who, really, I don't even love, maybe, Gainwell could be intriguing. Yeah. Deion Jackson. He's only 4,100. He could be intriguing as well.
So Deion Jackson is the highest projected rostered value play. He's at 10.5% right now. So, could be if he gets to start over Moss and Hull, right? Then he could certainly be a value dart. People will look to gravitate towards Jacksonville here this week. So, all in all, I'm with you again. We'll have the watch list out, or the watch list is out. We'll have the dartboard out. We'll have the playbook out and everything for everybody on Saturday as you tune in. So be sure to check all of that out for Howard's full breakdown on the running back position. Let's move on over to wide receiver. I mentioned it. We'll get to it. There's a ton of value at this position. But so far, we've liked sort of the upper mid tier of quarterback. We have liked the mid to value tier at running back. So, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, some top priced wide receivers probably going to be on our radar as well then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jefferson, Tyreek, and Chase, all three of them should warrant consideration. These are guys who I don't care what the matchup is, and I'll happily use them if I can get them into a lineup there. Moving a little further off of them, when you're talking about AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, again, working up against the Patriots, a little bit problematic. Yeah. Don't necessarily know if I want to dabble in that, but you could go with like a Jalen Waddle, right, at 7,100, and that's a nice one there. I'm sure against the Chargers, I'm sure we'll see some sort of Miami stacking going on. With a lot of the people. I mean, listen, everybody loves stacking now.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Have you taken a look at this? I was listening the other day to Sirius XM Fantasy Radio, and they were breaking down the pay lines over the years, and over like the last 5 seasons, the pay lines for cashing have dropped significantly. Like you'll get like a random week where like the pay line is suddenly at like, if you're on FanDuel, pay line's like 160, right? But overall last year, the pay line, the average pay line last year on FanDuel for cashing was like 96 points.
Because stacks are missing.
because everybody's stacking and everybody's doing, GPP tournament lineups and they're putting them, even into their cash games there. And so, it's kind of funny to see what the trend is right now. So, building a zero fat lineup could definitely be the way that you want to go, even in the GPP tournament. I know everybody's like, oh yeah, I got to get that stack and the player coming back at it and stuff like that. But that might not be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're all trying to maximize touchdowns, right? And if you play both Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they can't score touchdowns at the same time. So, you need them to either score a lot of points, which this game is projected to score a ton of points in, and go there. In the mid-tier, a lot of great options here again. T. Higgins is actually projected higher in terms of rostership than Jamar Chase this week. He's $6,800. Calvin Ridley's among the top rostered wide receivers there at $65. Mr. Chris Olave is at $6,500 there. Amari Cooper is $58, a great value for him in my opinion. So mid-tier certainly has some options. And I do like DK Metcalf. This is one of the things I highlighted in one of my videos here. No Jalen Ramsey. You looked at the DK Metcalf Jalen Ramsey matchup, and Ramsey was really getting the better of Metcalf in those spots there. Not on the Rams anymore. And Metcalf is probably going to feel a little bit more relieved that ends up being the case here, and could see Metcalf have himself a pretty good day in this spot here.
Yeah, I like Metcalf a lot at 7,000. You mentioned T. Higgins, an interesting one there. Chris Olave against the soft Tennessee secondary is definitely a way to look. I kind of like, laugh if you will. I kind of like Chris Godwin this week also. I know Brian Flores is the new defensive coordinator for Minnesota, but personnel-wise, they still are lagging. And so Godwin as the for PPR purposes, and on DraftKings, it's great. On FanDuel, it's a different story because it's half point, but I kind of like Godwin at 5,900 as an option there, as somebody who's going to probably see, especially if Tampa Bay is losing this game, he'll probably see an abundance of targets in the short passing game.
Yeah, definitely possible for sure. Again, I am not obviously a Baker Mayfield person, so
nobody is.
Shy away a lot of Tampa Bay, but it's hard to argue the Minnesota defense. They did nothing to improve. So while it should be a schematic thing that helps them here, they do have talented wide receivers still. Mike Evans and Godwin could be a pretty low, stack if for 1 week Baker Mayfield can get it going. Certainly something in play. All right, let me get to the value plays here that I was looking at. Cortland Sutton is 52, Jordan Addison's 51, Thomas is 51. But then we go down here, and Zay Flowers is $4,000. Marvin Mims, who could be starting this week with Jerry Jeudy out, is $3,000. So some pretty good value potentially on this slate to help you spend up. Elijah Moore is actually expected to be one of the highest rostered players this week. We have him as the third highest projected wide receiver rostered at almost 15%. What are your thoughts on some of the names just rattled off there?
I feel like you skipped over Brandon Ayuk at 4,900. I love Brandon Ayuk at 4,900. I think it's it can be a considerable matchup against Pittsburgh, but I definitely I like utilizing him. On the other side there, George Pickens at 5,000. I like him. I like Jahan Dotson at 5,000 as well. I might even kind of take a little gander at Van Jefferson at 4,700. I think that's something to look at. Romeo Doubs, back at practice the other day, 4,400. So there's a ton of value to be found over here. Zay Flowers obviously intrigues me a lot. Elijah Moore for sure. I already have, I think I have Elijah Moore in the watch list. That's definitely somebody that I want to take a look at. And what about, Raheem Shaheed? Raheem Shaheed in New Orleans as that deep threat. You're looking for like that big play receiver.
Who was that Saints big play guy that you used to throw out there every now and then in GPP lineups back in the day? Trying to remember. He had like 1 week where he went off for you, and you had him in all your lineups. Now I'm blanking on it. I'll try to remember, but it was a few years ago. The Saints had a big deep guy that paid off for you there. But yeah, it could be a play again. You have Thomas and Olave healthy, but if she goes there and gets it, it could be the spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other wide receivers for you?
What's that?
Any other wide receivers for you?
I'm trying to see what's down at the at the bottom of the barrel. There's not a lot at the bottom of the barrel.
Traquan Smith, by the way, was the guy I was thinking of.
Traquan, that guy. No, I don't think. I mean, as we're like, I'm looking through like that 3,000 tier. There's really nobody. I haven't dug all that deep, you know, because I'll tell you what, it seems to me like this, this week one where, where we're looking. Everybody loves to find like their super deep bargains. And that's probably why you see Sam Howell and Elijah Moore as probably like these two top rated guys, because everybody's looking for that really deep bargain,
right,
in order to get in some of the big names, as opposed to putting together a more balanced lineup and just kind of hovering in that mid tier.
Sure. At the tight end position again, we don't know the status yet of Mark Andrews. He is $6,200. Would obviously be pretty popular play this week, sort of given again the offensive changes people are expecting and the matchup against Houston here. Hawkinson against Tampa Bay is 59. Kittle's questionable against Pittsburgh at 57, and Goddard at 5K against New England are the top 4 price guys. Did you find yourself gravitating when looking over the watch list at any top price plays here, or tight end tends to also be a spot where we look for some value?
Yeah, we definitely look for value there. I'll look at Andrews. I'll definitely look at Andrews and see what his health situation is like. Is Hawkinson going to see the same number of targets that he saw down the stretch last year? That's something that I want to see. For 5,900. I might not look at him for this way. I think the interesting spot where I'm kind of living is outside of Andrews. I'm paying a little further down there, and Tyler Higbee really pops for me at 4,800 on DraftKings. That there's no Cooper Kupp. You've got Van Jefferson, Ben Skoranek, Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua. Like, I mean, there's not a lot of threats there. So I do feel like Higbee is a guy who could be leaned on, and the fact that Jamal Adams is out for Seattle, like not having that safety coming down to cover the tight end, that's going to be a big deal, I think, in this makeup. So if I'm not going with Andrews, I'll probably pay down to Higbee, possibly look at like Dalton Schultz at 4,600. That's another name that I'm kind of eyeballing.
I like David Njoku here. You mentioned Cincinnati with 2 new safeties.
Right.
Njoku, $4,200. Cincinnati struggled against tight ends anyways, as it was last season. And we're not sure really who the number 2 wide receiver is or number 2 target man is going to be in Cleveland this year. We saw Njoku and Watson obviously have some chemistry at the end of last year. We know Amari Cooper is the number 1, but they did make that trade for Elijah Moore. Could it be Moore? Could it be an Njoku? You're getting Njoku at just $4,200 here on the DraftKings slate in a pretty good spot. So I definitely found myself, if I wasn't going like Higbee, Njoku was a guy I was looking to plug. I do like Greg Dulcich as well. Again, we've seen some tight ends have success in the Joe Lombardi offense in the past. Gerald Everett and obviously Jimmy Graham, guys like that come to mind. So Dulcich maybe would know. Jerry Jeudy has a little bit more of a chemistry there with Wilson, even though a bit limited to see him go there. Any other tight ends for you? Any value tight ends?
I mean, Juwan Johnson obviously, piques my curiosity. I'll definitely look at that. I also want to look at Logan Thomas, who, returned from injury. He, I know that everybody's looking at Cole Turner, but Thomas seems to be the guy who they want in there the most. He's the most complete tight end that Washington has, and that's it could be a failsafe for Eric Bieniemy's offense. I think that's definitely something that you're going to have to take a look at and see. Thomas at 3,200 on DraftKings is definitely a nice low price. So if he can get some targets, that interests me. If Mark Andrews is out or limited in any way, I don't know why we don't turn to Isaiah Likely at $3,000.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Likely would probably be like 50% rostered if Mark Andrews ends up getting ruled out.
Yeah,
just the price tag and the matchup. I also kind of think that Kylen Granson could be worth a dart throw here. Jelani Woods already ruled out. If you look at the preseason, Granson's one of the few guys on Indy that actually caught passes from Anthony Richardson this year. He's a catch first tight end. He's not like a blocking tight end. And then you look at the Indy offense, and again, there's not really a ton there. I do like Alec Pierce. You have Josh Downs. Michael Pittman's the lead guy there, but I think there's a path for Granson to be a pretty almost like an every down tight end for this team. So $2,900 against a team in Jacksonville that really struggled against a tight end last year. It's a pure multi-line tournament dart throw play. I'm not saying, hey, one lineup core play Kylen Granson this week. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're playing a 3 max or playing a 20 max, like I would have at least a lineup or two of Kylen Granson there in a 20 max this week.
Yeah, agreed.
Anybody else for you at tight end?
No, not really. I think that's kind of I mean, like I said, you could throw some darts at certain guys. You could throw a dart at Cole Turner for crying out loud. The dude's 2,500 on DraftKings. But no, again, I don't feel
any Hayden Hurst in your purview.
I mean, somewhat. Obviously, we know that young rookie quarterbacks like to lean on the tight end. We know that Frank Reich has worked in the tight end fairly well. When he's got somebody there, it's again, it's a dart throw. It's a possibility. It's like, do I throw a dart at Michael Mayer because maybe they don't go, all in on Austin Hooper, and Michael Mayer is a guy who you kind of want to take a look at. But remember back in 2016 when we were playing the tight end whisperer game. Yeah. Somebody out there is going to be our Higbee special. 1 catch, 8 yards and a touchdown. But I don't necessarily know if I'm looking for that because we're not locking in, all of this top tier talent. We're not like, all right, well, I got to pay up at QB. I got to pay up at running back. I got to pay up here. It affords us the opportunity to not have to pay for dirt cheap tight ends and chase touchdowns.
I agree. All right, moving over to the defense here. Obviously, the Baltimore Ravens are going to be the mega chalk at home against Houston. Again, just looking at Stroud and that offense and the way things went during the preseason, it would lead you to believe the Ravens are going to be in a really good spot here to put up some defensive points at 4K. And we've talked enough about the value that's on this slate. Paying up for defense isn't going to be that big of a struggle this week. So I'm fine just eating the chalk here. If you weren't, though, looking at Baltimore, what's the next defensive go for you?
Commanders.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 2,800 on DraftKings going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Josh Dobbs is taking over as he's the starting quarterback. Maybe they, if Dobbs is unsuccessful, maybe they turn to Clayton Tune at some point during the game. I don't even know. But I think that, if you're looking at the Ravens, you got to also be looking, for the pay down for the Commanders. I think that's a good spot to have them in there. I also don't mind Seattle. I mean, the Seahawks, it's kind of like a mid-tier thing, 3,300 on DraftKings. I know that Jamal Adams not being there in the secondary is a big deal, but again, you're talking about a Rams team that is just depleted with weapons.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, there's not much there. And again, it's not like we loved the Seattle defense last season, but I don't know what even Matthew Stafford has left. You're going to see a pretty heavy dose of Cam Akers in this game, for as long as the Rams can run the football and not have to be forced to throw, because I do think Seattle is going to put up points in this one and make the Rams chase them from behind. But I'm with you there. When I was kind of starting to plug some lineups in, Baltimore was my number one play for sure. I did like Jacksonville, even though they're on the road, because I just, it feels like Richardson, as mobile as he can be, could very well be a turnover machine pretty early on in his career as well when he does try to throw the football, or, he scrambles too much and strip sacks and fumbles and things like that. So, I do think Jacksonville could be a little bit of a sneaky defensive play this week, even though being on the road. here. And then it's the guys that you mentioned as well. The Commanders are certainly on my radar. So
how about the Falcons? Falcons revamped their entire defense during the offseason. I know Okuda is still banged up, but they did a really good job, doing that. And they're going up against Bryce Young and a rookie QB. So, that could be another intriguing spot to take a look at if Bryce Young is got the nerves and the Falcons turn the ball over on him a couple of times.
Not only that, one of the things that Andrew Cooper talks about, and the reason that he likes Miles Sanders, is because he thinks the Panthers will actually have a pretty good offensive line when it comes to run blocking. Pass blocking, their offensive line is in trouble. And then you look at the fact that both DJ Chark and Adam Thielen are missing practice due to injuries. This could be a pretty tough spot for Young here if he doesn't have anybody to throw to and a bad offensive line to protect him. And you and I talked about it. One of the reasons why we made all those bets on Bijan Robinson to be drafted by the Atlanta Falcons was because they addressed all of their defensive needs in free agency and trade. They were not going to go defense in the draft. They did it through spending money. So I'm with you there. I think the Falcons at home at $3,200 could probably surprise some teams. Some people, because their perception is Atlanta. Why would I ever play their defense? We could get a low roster play there. So as we do with every show here, let's finish it out. Let's build a lineup for the people. I don't know if you've had one going or not, but if not, we can go position by position and get it rocking.
Yeah, I played around with one here, but let's go position by position. Let's talk about some of our faves and see where we go. I think it starts with Trevor Lawrence. You love him. I love him. If we could just go into that locker room and brush his hair for him, I'm sure both of us would be 100%. In on that.
Yep. I love that a lot. I think we'll just skip to wide receiver and we'll just plug in Ridley here quickly so we know what we're dealing with. All right. So we got Lawrence and got Ridley in. We have a $5,200 per play, but we know we're going around defensively. Are we going to spend up for the Ravens, or do we like some of the value options we discussed here?
I think we can try it with the Ravens right now, and just kind of eat that chalk and then see what that does to our budget. We know that we can pay. We know we can save at least $1,200 at some point if we need it by going from the Ravens to the Commanders.
Would you rather Njoku at tight end or Elijah Moore as a punt wide receiver?
I think I would rather Elijah Moore as a punt wide receiver and then throw like Higbee in there as our tight end.
Okay. Let's see. Moore here at wide receiver, Higbee at tight end. All right. So now we're up to $6,100. We have a wide receiver, a flex, and 2 running backs. We definitely liked the mid-tier running back. I told you that the expected chalk of the slate is Jamal Williams. We were both in on Raheem Mostert here at 54.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to begin our running back position here?
Let's see what happens. Let's chalk it up with Jamal Williams and let's and then let's throw in Mostert and keep saving some money. Let's see what we get.
All right, we're at about $7,000 for a flex and a wide receiver here.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude.
I feel like we got to play Justin Jefferson, right?
Do it up.
That's a $5,100 flex play. Which might be Brian Robinson. Jordan Addison, we're playing Jefferson already. Michael Thomas is in play here.
Yeah. Ayuk is in there.
It is. Where is he? Where's Ayuk?
49.
49, okay. You like Ayuk versus Pittsburgh? I'm a little indifferent there.
I'm just throwing out a name. Throwing out a name here,
I like Zay Flowers a lot. I feel like we need to get some exposure to Baltimore versus Houston.
Okay.
That's going to open up a lot of money, though, because he is only.
That's fine. Listen, I like opening money.
Let's say Flowers at $4,000. $1,100 here. So
let's see if we can pay up for another running back instead of either Jamal or Mostert. Either one.
If you had to pick one to go.
Well, let's think GPP then as opposed to cash, and let's take out Jamal Williams because everybody's in on him.
Okay, $6,200. I like Javonte Williams. If you again, the most recent news is here. Broncos head coach Sean Payton will have a big role this Sunday against the Raiders.
Okay. All right.
if you like it, if you don't like it, that's fine. We can discuss. We could also drop down from the Raiders and get to Nick Chubb maybe for you. We do have Elijah Moore in the lineup, but something to there. We could try and get Eckler to come back in that Miami spot. Or do you feel comfortable with the lineup that we have out here right now?
I mean, I don't feel great about this lineup. I mean, I like it. It's two big pay downs there for Zay Flowers and Elijah Moore.
Sure.
So if we're gonna get the exposure, there at a bargain for the Ravens, can we pay up? Over Elijah Moore? Can we do something like that?
Like spend down at Detroit for the Ravens, maybe, and then go up from Elijah Moore?
Yeah, just see what happens there. See what happens if we go down to like the Commanders.
Sure. All right, so Commanders, that gives us 55. We can have a $5,500 flex if we move Flowers into the wide receiver position. $5,500 flex.
What does that give us?
That gives us, let's see here, Kirk,
Tebow,
Rashad White,
London,
kind of the same. Sutton, I know you're a Sutton guy. We do have Javonte in the lineup there.
Yeah. Don't want to.
Gets us back to Jamal Williams. We could also go down from Jefferson as much as we like him.
What if we go to Chase?
Chase gives us a little bit more money. I was thinking $7K is DK Metcalf.
Oh, all right. Throw Metcalf in there. Let's see what that opens.
That gives us a $7,300 flex. Could be Keenan Allen to come back with the Mostert.
Jalen Waddle
to go with Mostert, or we could go Waddle and then pivot off of Mostert to like Jamal Williams there.
Yeah. Try that. See what that looks like. Waddle, take out Mostert, 56. What does that give us?
Again, Jamal Williams is here at 51.
Oh, so another 500.
Another 500 to play around with. Let's see. What was 76? Brown, Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith. Waddle was there already.
Yep.
We could go up a D. I mean, if you like
the go Commanders, up a D, yeah.
That would get us the Falcons.
Oh.
Falcons defense is here. The flex is 72. Waddle, and then that's what we got. Lawrence, Javonte, Jamal, Ridley, Flowers, Metcalf, Higbee, Waddle, and the Falcons with $100 left over.
I actually kind of like that lineup.
All right, you got a little chalk with the running back with Jamal, but then you have the GPP play with Javonte.
Mm-hmm.
You got the stack with Calvin and Lawrence. You got Flowers getting that matchup against Houston. Metcalf in a great spot at low rostership too. Nobody's playing Metcalf in this spot, at least for now. Get the chalk with Higbee. We like Waddle in that matchup against the Chargers, and the Falcons D could surprise some people. So, a little GPP lineup for the folks at home.
Hey.
So, that is it for our week 1 DFS show lineup and breakdown here. Again, you can scan the QR code here on the screen. If you don't already have the Fantasy Slam All-Pro package, you can sign up today and get a 7-day free trial. Get access to all of the content we're putting out right now with the 7-day free trial. And then if you want, you can upgrade. You get the annual package for 40% off the monthly package. So you're going to essentially get the NFL season for free with the 40% off deal there off the month-to-month price. So no better time than now to go sign up. Go to fantasyslam.com/win or scan the QR code here on the screen or click in the link in the description as well. Can all get you there to the pricing page to help you become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family. Bender, any final words for the folks at home?
Sign up, peoples. Sign up. You can also take it, like when you sign up, you can take us for a free spin for the 7-day free trial. Make all that subscription money this weekend in DFS with us and betting as well. So
maybe you could be the next millionaire Mike.
Maybe you could be the next millionaire Mike. I would, you know what, John? I hope that you are the next millionaire Mike.
I hope all of us are the next millionaire Mike. Millionaire Mike 2 years ago, single bullet FanDuel Millie took it down using the Fantasy Alarm playbook. Bought a boat. So you can go maybe become the next millionaire Mike and buy yourself a boat. That's it for this week, though. For Howard Bender, John Impemba here. Good luck, everybody, with your lineups. Find us on Twitter. Get us in the Discord, and we will catch you guys later.